Welcome back to DreamHack Valencia, the third of all 4 DreamHacks coming out for Rocket League and the DreamHack Pro Circuit this year. And we are just coming to the end here of day number 2, where we have CompLexity and G2, another North American versus European matchup to decipher who is going to be our last team to join us in day number 3. Hello and welcome. I am your host, Wade Dreadnought Penfold. With me at the desk, I've got myself, Randy Gibbons, and of course, it's going to be I always want to say Turtle App. I don't know why. I think Turtle App.
That sounds nice. I'll take it.
Turtle App. It sounds like an app to learn. Like I don't know. It's like a pacing problem. Like it's slow down. I don't know why, but think about it. Why would you down? It's either that or like I don't know, like an Animal Planet.
It's been a long day.
I'm just gonna keep looking at you while you say whatever it is.
Yeah, somebody take a shovel. Yeah, please.
So far for this bracket, though, we have 4 European teams in. We have 2 of the 3 big 3 from NA, and then that mixture of NA and Europe with the River Rats. Yeah. So we'll see if NA can catch up a bit, because obviously the bragging rights for day 1 and 2 at the World Championship was all NA. Last laugh, though, went to Vitality. We'll see who gets it going into day 3 here.
Yeah, you know, I can't help but feel like, you know, at least for the North American panel up here, we're hoping for maybe EU can take this, but then we find the last laugh in the end. Maybe NRG. I don't know. There's little hopes.
To be fair, that's not even an NA bias. Like, if I was a European, I'd be rooting for Fireburn to win it all as well. But that's easy to say because I am NA.
Too much of a legend. But this upcoming match, definitely, we got no roster adjustments here. It's just, you know, both these teams trying to be consistent and put up really good results here. And it just makes me think about G2 and how they over-aggressed and how they played. They did not look the best in the series we just saw with them, but it was their first time on stream. Could have been some nerves. Playing on day 1 is so important for players. People don't really talk about it, but having day 1 experience and just getting that groups and kind of feeling yourself on stage and being used to it up there is so important. Hopefully they come back and, you know, at least put on a better show.
Yeah, and one thing here that we got to be looking at for this series too is sitting on the side of CompLexity. It seems like they were not a 3-man unit in the last time that we saw them, right? Very much watching Flakes up in the front, just dominating and looking for where is the remainder of this roster.
Yeah, we'll have to see. But the one thing that's beautiful about this is, like, CompLexity, a fairly new roster, but because of all these DreamHacks, like, this is a rematch from DreamHack Dallas, Game 5 overtime. If you're watching the break, me and Chiefs talked about that series. Like, it was incredibly close last time. That's when G2 was still transitioning into a more of an offensive team, when they were trying to figure out where Rizzo scores that Game 5 overtime winner.
Yeah.
At this point, I think G2 is even better than they were then, so we'll see if CompLexity has a chance to bounce back. But again, like, it was the Flakes show, right? So they need more than just Flakes to beat G2.
And what do we need to see when it comes to G2 on the pitch? Because, again, it does not feel like they are performing at the same level, not only that we got from them at Worlds, but it feels like even the last season of the RLCS, something's a bit amiss here out of this group.
Yeah, I think maybe a little bit more of a mild aggression. It felt like there was a lot of times against Barcelona where it's a 2v1 situation, and then Barcelona has the chance to either pass or go for the demo. Barcelona chose the demo a lot, and that caught G2 off guard, so they got to fix that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan, though, of this G2 riskier playstyle. It seems like they kind of switched it up. You know, they've always been a 1 on the back, 2 up front, but it was definitely more mild and more passive, so somebody could rotate back faster. But now they're kind of just throwing everything forward. But if they're going to do that, they need to hit these midfield passes. They need to connect and find each other. And if you're alone on the backfield, you got to be comfortable. Rizzo talked about it before in an interview. Everybody's comfortable on the backfield. If you aren't, you're going to lose.
And again, for CompLexity, this is one of the European squads that came out of nowhere. They picked up Flakes last second for DreamHack Leipzig, and ever since then, they've been on a tear. They went through the rival series, now they're in the RLCS, and they've been battling toe-to-toe with the European best like TSM and t.trouble, but they want to make another day 3 back-to-back.
Yep, and Magnus right there, alongside Flakes, the monster of this team, the one we want to see come through along with his teammates. But Flakes, kind of like the Chaussette factor right now. Chaussette did so much for PSG. Flakes can do the same thing, but the difference was Chaussette had his teammates coming up forward as well. And CompLexity, if they can push up, they're going to bring it to G2.
And then on the other side with G2, a very disappointing finish at DreamHack Dallas, but obviously the World Championship, what a magical run that was with the offensive output that we have never seen before from G2. And Chicago was one of those main factors, but in that last series versus Barcelona, he was getting bullied. Like a lot of times he was getting demoed. He was that last man back. So they got to figure that out, have a little bit more defensive presence, or just have all the pressure in the world. But it has to be one or the other. Rizzo right here went on vacation for a little bit. Him and Chicago both, so they didn't get as much practice, which I think could hurt them with that really like aggressive play style, because if you're not practicing that, it's very hard to pull off.
And it's an interesting concept because NRG talked about not practicing at all, and then they come back and they're still consistent. G2 doesn't really seem like that. It seems like the practice and the I guess, experimentation on the field, especially during scrims against everybody else, is super important to their fundamental base and something that they definitely need to have coming into any LAN environment.
Yeah, would it be fair to say that maybe part of the reason that's different between these two teams is purely off of their play style? If you have that constant aggression, it takes one break, you know, a chink in the armor, and you are going to go down. You're going to see that go on the other side. Whereas with NRG, it's always been this very team-oriented and very consistent kind of performing level for them, outside of maybe the outlier of watch Justin go do what Justin does. Yeah,
exactly. So that's why I loved what I saw from G2 when we saw him at the World Championship, but I'm like, it's going to be hard to repeat that every single tournament. So I think there is going to be times where they bottom out of a tournament, but when they are playing at their best, that's when they can win titles. Because I think if G2 plays that passive style, they don't have a chance to actually win titles. They might finish top 8, but they're not going to beat the European best at this point. So like, I do like this new play style, but it is risky.
And will Rizzo be the rock in the defense? Will he move forward, trying to kind of aggress and be that guy who comes in? He reminds me a lot of Cookser as well, somebody who crashes the net and comes in strong. And JNAP said himself, whenever Rizzo's feeling confident, everybody else thrives and feeds off of Rizzo.
Well, now it's time for the predictions here for our last series of the day. Who do you think will end up walking away with this, CompLexity or G2?
So I heard a lot of hate from the G2 fans because I did pick them last time and they lost. I am not allowed to do that again. So I have to go CompLexity. I'm sorry, G2. I forgot.
How dare you?
Through all the legal paperwork, I forgot. I am going CompLexity here.
Yeah, Gibbs is guessing.
There's a lot of jargon.
Is indeed guessing. I think I'm going to go with G2. I think it was just their first time Jitters up on the stage, finally getting some practice. They're going to come back and bounce back here in this match against CompLexity.
Yeah, and here for me, you know, man. It's
close.
G2, it's a close one, but really at the end of the day, you know, you aren't a true fan if you just go when your team's winning. So obviously, I'm a true fan of Chicago. I'm still sitting on his side, man. The young man has a lot of hope, a lot of potential, and I believe that G2 has what it takes here.
But again, like every series, it seems like today, they're all close, right? The top 16 teams of the world battling out. Everyone's going to be close, and we've seen a lot of Game 5s today. And again, if you take G2 to Game 5, they have a pretty good record there, so we'll have to see.
I think we joked last DreamHack that you just don't even have a final game against them, so much so that it's like almost a best of 4, if you will.
But the worst part was when we started at DreamHack Dallas, the first 2 Game 5s, they won. And then they had 2 more on day 2, but we forget about those because they lost them both.
Just a little bit.
Just take it off the record.
Here's the thing,
Didn't
though.
happen.
If there's a team called Randy Gibbons River Rats are in the top 8, how do you predict anything anymore?
Sure. Very true.
All paperwork, all notes, just like this. This is about how valuable they, in fact, are going to be. But we're going to waste no more time here for our final match here today in day number 2. We're going to send it over to James Bott and Achieves to conclude the day.
Thank you very much, Dreadnought. And it should be a pretty good one. They're absolutely right. The rematch at Dallas. Both teams looking a little shaky the last time we saw them on the pitch. I mean, James, how are you feeling about it?
You know, this is going to just all come down to this final series. You know, both teams, we have questions about them. This is where it's going to get answered.
Absolutely, and Chicago, like they said, bright kid. Can he lead his team to a victory? But also, it's the Flake show. Which one's going to step up, have a big game? Who knows? And of course, JNAP's had a phenomenal showing at the World Championship. Ton of help in leading G2 to that grand final appearance. And of course, Rizzo, if he's playing well, we all know G2's playing well.
Yeah, we know they've got it in them. Rizzo, obviously, more of a defensive player in the past, but getting involved on the offense. All 3 players from G2 contributing in the last World Championship. CompLexity, a team that fought their way into the RLCS. Flakes has been looking insane. Even in the series they lost, he had some incredible shots. See if he can repeat that here.
And they had some solid defense when they played each other back in Dallas, and they're going to need that if they want to take them down here and make day 3 in Valencia. So, game 1 underway, and it will start with CompLexity and Greasy trying to find a touch out into the midfield.
And I do notice Greasy switching back over to the Octane. He was in the Dominus earlier. Trying to switch it up.
Ball out to the side. Rizzo and Chicago figuring out who will be in command. Around the corner, pass into the middle. Greasy up early. Great lead upfield. Flakes is in a bit of a race, but it'll be Rizzo to try and hang on to the ball. Got a little much of it. JNAPS lends a helping hand and gets it out to the side. Magnus, shot on target. Greasy, great takeaway from the defense, and JNAPS will repeat the favor and take the ball away from Flakes. So G2 trying to find a couple clears early on in game 1.
And Well done by JNaps, cutting out that play, not giving CompLexity an opportunity to get the lead.
Nice little fake there from Rizzo. Ends up getting the ball back to JNaps. Another member of CompLexity sails right on by. Rizzo trying to find a touch out in the midfield. Nothing going. Easy enough for G2 to hang with. Pass across. JNaps off the mark. And Chicago trying to get that hard bounce off the corner and out into the midfield. Unfortunately, just rolled right around. They find a gap in the backboard. Here's JNaps, goes to the far side. Nobody waiting, though. And CompLexity now forced to find a couple of defensive stops. Breezy needs a long clear here, and JNaps didn't get all of it. This might be a nice play for CompLexity, but great recovery from JNaps.
Yeah, I love that back pass from JNaps to keep possession. Rizzo getting demoed. We'll see if that slows it down. Actually puts him back in rotation to get a good pass at JNaps. G2 on an all-out assault.
Chicago, no boost, can't follow up, but might still have something almost. Passing in the middle for Rizzo over his head, and Chicago gonna have to scamper back, take the ball away from Greasy. Off the ceiling, down into the mid, top of the box. JNaps is stretching, it'll actually be Chicago. And nice reactions from CompLexity to kick that out to the corner. Rizzo with time to work with and just bombs it upfield. This might be a good opportunity here for CompLexity, but they might be low on boost, so G2 push up the pitch and get themselves set up here. Finally, a welcome clear from Flakes, and JNaps has to buy a few seconds. Just past the halfway mark. Slow march to game one. Both teams having a fair amount of time on the other's half. Currently G2, the one's in command, but finally over the head of Chicago. He's going to have to be on guard here. Flakes with a little pop. Magnus cuts back in, top left, and kept out. JNaps, what a save. Makes two, that one aside as well, and Rizzo will find the clear.
G2, they started out so hot on offense, and then JNaps on the defensive end, back-to-back saves. Big play from him.
Nice demo from Rizzo. Lets Chicago catch a pass from JNaps. Not able to generate strong shot on target, though. Lift towards the back wall. Greasy Meister again. Long, booming clear. He did a lot of that when they played at Dallas. I'm curious to see if G2, well, they definitely had their number so far in the last couple of minutes in that regard. And Greasy will steal that one away. Rizzo out to the middle. Greasy wants two. It'll be a stretch. Can't get it. Chicago, easy clear. Tipped around one oncoming attacker, and pass, bar down, out and not in. Greasy Meister will get in front of the second effort, and G2 will have to look for another chance.
So close from JNaps, hitting the post, going out. G2 looking for that goal. They have been so close.
Chicago trying to pound it through Greasy, and Flakes just tipped that out to the midfield. G2, I mean, it's been a solid 2.5 minutes of them just cruising on offense. Got to commend CompLexity for hanging onto the ball. Chicago trying to bring it down, and Magnus, great timing on that challenge. Got the ball back the other way, pops straight in front of the G2 net. Rizzo comes up empty. Chicago lends a helping hand, and things will be stuck here in the midfield line for a moment. It will be Magnus out to his own corner.
And even on that attack, CompLexity had 2 players in their own half, just expecting the G2 pressure to continue. Maybe they're looking for that opening for G2 to overcommit so they can start a counterattack.
It's a great challenge there from Rizzo, rotating himself backwards. JNaps passes one towards the top of the box, taken away by CompLexity. This one off the sidewall for Chicago, and well off target. So maybe CompLexity will get the last say here before overtime. Pass to Greasy, launched towards net. Rizzo there in time. Clear from Chicago, all the way back up the pitch, and everyone will reset here. So G2 will finally have to concede all the pressure, and CompLexity find themselves on equal footing. But they will regain possession shortly after the kickoff. JNaps wants 2 touches. Greasy not even going to let him think about it. All the way across for Chicago. Sniffed out by JNaps. Magnus, long clear up the pitch. Over the Rizzo's head. Chicago has just grabbed boost. It's dangerous. Demo in the midfield. Huge play from JNaps to take away that supporting player for CompLexity. Takes away all shot opportunities. Everyone again have to reset.
And again, Flakes getting taken out. A double demo. See if G2 can capitalize.
Great challenge from Flakes, taking it off Chicago's hood. Magnus with time to work with, and what does he do? He just crushes it up the pitch. Almost got by Flakes. Chicago has to block a shot. Greasy tips another one towards the target, but Rizzo there in front of that one. Greasy missing the back pass to Flakes. Magnus will come in and take command. Stolen away, J-Naps towards the back wall. Flakes, again with a little bit of space to work with. Rizzo closing the gap. J-Naps lifted upwards. Here's Chicago. Flakes again there to take that away from G2. Cut in front of the net. Magnus, not the greatest pinch. Back wall, and J-Naps will not be able to get it by Greasy Meister. Greasy pinch towards net. Rizzo on a dribble. Flakes. Great timing again on the challenge. High bounce, dangerous play. J-Naps can't win a piece, and thankfully Rizzo played that one off the back wall. It was going to be an awkward ask if he played it from the ground. Could have been demoed. G2 find a solid clear. Rizzo just needs to get this ball out to the middle. Doesn't get all of it, and J-Naps not able to find the pass either.
Rizzo was hungry for that physical play. Flakes now a chance. Magnus on the creep, but Rizzo wanted to go for those demos. This has been such a defensive game. Both teams making these stops on the back line.
They almost get a chance there, and it will be Flakes to come and drive it home. It took 7 minutes to finally find the back of the net for somebody. It's just because Rizzo expecting Chicago to come up with a touch there.
Yeah, Rizzo was a little slow to get up because Magnus had that second hit on the backboard. It delayed Rizzo's jump just long enough to give Flakes the space to finish that one off.
So CompLexity weather the storm, I think is the right way to put that. It was a ton of shots for G2 during regulation.
Yeah, even right out of the gate, G2 putting the pressure on shot after shot after shot, but CompLexity just staying solid on their rotations, getting the blocks, and again, forcing overtime where they eventually take it.
And a close call for G2 right there. A little bit of ping pong around the net, and this is finally the one to do it. Chicago just couldn't get a handle on that bounce off the top corner. And Flakes, he was willing to take a risk. He already knew Magnus was going to be back behind him playing defense.
Yeah, you got nothing to lose at that point. Even if he misses, he'll have a teammate going back to their net to cover. So he had to go all in. And Magnus did a great job of getting that double tap pass off the backboard, keeping Rizzo grounded, making sure that no one from G2 could read that pass. And Flakes, an easy cleanup for him.
And I think it was a pretty decent showing for G2, especially considering what we saw in their last go against Barcelona. Looked a little bit more put together as well, despite not coming out with a win. Same for CompLexity, of course. So it's good to see everyone's back up near the top of their game as game 2 about to get started. And we'll see if G2 has a bit more luck finding the back of the net. CompLexity with some solid defense. Maybe they break out of their own half and box G2 in a little bit more, and we'll find out what happens.
We did see some desire from Rizzo to get more physical, looking for those bumps and demos. See if that becomes more of a factor. G2 getting shut out in game 1, usually such an offensive powerhouse of a team. Chicago and J-Naps deadly on the attack. Rizzo deadly on those demos, but CompLexity still managed to keep him scoreless.
Well, as the first 30 seconds tick off, starting off with CompLexity playing a bit of offense here. Flakes just to keep possession here. Maybe going to find a second touch. Actually gives Rizzo a chance. Magnus not even going to allow him to get command, and ends up on Rizzo's nose out to J-Naps towards the back wall of CompLexity. Popped high. It's a bit of a race. Rizzo will come out on top. Flakes handles this one quite nicely, keeping it stuck to his hood as he takes that around the corner. But again, J-Naps coming out of the midfield, also running into Greasy. Means he has to take it across his net. Dangerous, and Rizzo waiting right for it. But nice play from Magnus to tip that out to safety. Chicago towards the corner. J-Naps is just going to let that go, but misreads the bounce. Now it's Rizzo trying to get a pass all the way across, and Chicago knows he's wasting his time. He'll just get set for the clear and at least stick it on this CompLexity half before they try and break out again. Rizzo down to J-Naps. Back wall for Chicago, and he doesn't go for it. Doesn't feel comfortable, doesn't want to take that risk. Give away the first goal if he doesn't come up with a victory there.
In the first 30 seconds, the pace was set by CompLexity. Now G2 doing the same. A shot, gonna get a rebound. Flakes trying to follow it up. So that brief offensive stint from CompLexity. Otherwise, G2's been controlling most of the game.
Feels a lot like game one. And nice transition pass from G2. They found Rizzo waiting on the side wall. Couldn't get it on frame. And Greasy can't get around Chicago. Great catch on the side wall, but still, again, Magnus has had great timing on his challenges when he's been dealing with the long clears from G2. Always picks just the right time to go in and take it away from the second effort. Rolling around the CompLexity net. Flakes looking for a touch off the side wall, but still free ball for G2 as they try and just take it away from Greasy. Applying pressure on Rizzo, maybe looking for a demo. He's headhunting right now. If he can maybe catch somebody from G2 off guard, it's not going to happen. And it really is a repeat of game one.
It really does feel exactly like it. The shot almost finding its mark. And not only the timing from Magnus and CompLexity, but also the spacing is there. That's what's allowing them to keep G2 at bay. Excellent rotations, excellent spacing, making the hits that they have to, shutting down the angles. Just playing textbook defensive Rocket League.
Nice little double tap from Chicago. Gets it out to JNaps as Rizzo around. He's not. He's running away. Nice demo on Flakes, actually. That means JNaps coming in now towards the back wall, and CompLexity will get a hand on it. Rizzo to stop it. Chicago towards net, and Greasy will keep that one out. And Rizzo and JNaps tie each other up, but Chicago wheels around in the corner and will poke it in.
And the double commit just before this put Greasy in a very difficult situation. Greasy almost getting the second save, ends up hitting it into his own net. But Chicago had the accuracy on his shot, forcing Greasy's hand. And G2 get on the board finally. It just took a double commit from CompLexity to give them the space.
8.5 minutes to find the net. It's got to feel good to finally get one through despite all the pressure you've been building. And Flakes actually had a great chance to equalize right there. Just really didn't get on top of the ball and just lifted it right above the net.
And even Greasy, if he would have just played the miss there, he could have double tapped that. His double tap read was just off. Could have tied it up himself.
Pass into the middle, Greasy off the backboard. Magnus has to let it go for Flakes, and actually he'll wheel right back around and take it away instead. And here comes Flakes now, touch into the middle, but it's not all the way out to Greasy. So G2 will have a chance to clear. Greasy trying to hang on to the ball, ends up taking away from his teammate, but there's a nice demo. It's a 2-on-1, pass to Magnus, and unfortunately doesn't get all of it. Just slips off the nose, and they get punished for it. JNaps makes it 2-0.
You saw the intention from Flakes. He wanted to pass that over, and when he failed, that was it for CompLexity. They had overcommitted, and Chicago gets the second goal for G2.
And you know, coming out of the net in that 2-on-1, you really decide when you want to take your chance, and they were willing to just go right at it instead of maybe allowing the demo or get crossed up by the pass.
You know, I don't blame CompLexity for taking that chance. Had Flakes been able to execute that flick over to his teammate, yeah, that could have been the equalizer.
But now CompLexity, daunting task to find 2 in 20 seconds, and Rizzo more than happy to just slow things down on the midfield line. Tips it around and still beating everybody with just these touches towards the wall. More than happy to just play keep away. And JNaps actually gets a handle on it, and it goes right off a CompLexity player and into the net, and that will close out game 2.
JNaps getting the dunk double tap on target. We even see Greasy trying to get the ball out of the net, but can't manage to do it. JNaps putting this one to bed.
A vindicating game for G2 in game number 2. A lot of great pressure throughout, and finally they cracked the back of the net a couple times. That being said, CompLexity gave them that first one, and the only thing that got the other ones was just a bit of luck, I would say, from G2.
I mean, G2, they just continued to play solid defense themselves, shutting out CompLexity now in game 2. This was a very similar game to game 1. Scoreless for a long, long time until the very end when things started to go in for G2. And Chicago, you know, just leading the charge with those 2 goals.
Absolutely. Only one shot able to be mustered by CompLexity. That's the deadlock stare from them. They're like, all right, there's 2 games in a row that have gone kind of the same way. Something's got to give. And nice try from Greasy. It really was just that small double commit that put him in a tough position, and he did the best he could, and this would have been a beautiful equalizer, and Flakes wishes he could have that one back.
Yeah, he saw Magnus waiting in the corner, and he had to execute it. Greasy was also upfield, so there was no one back, and then JNaps, a little fortunate here, gets the dunk, and then the ball's right there, and he's like, hey, I'll go for another tap right here. Why not?
And things go well. Fortune favors the bold. And JNaps is given a goal to close out game 2. So, we're tied up at 1-1. Spot on day 3 on the line. Big game here in game number 3. CompLexity have just been boxed into their own half a majority of this series, and you need to see some changes happen. So we shall see what they come up with, how they get perhaps the first possession off the kickoff. It goes neutral and will favor G2. Couple of bounces towards the back wall. Greasy and Flakes trapped far away, and quite fortunate that Rizzo was a little too close. But great control from G2, passed it right back to their own half to make sure they held onto the ball. And there's that demo game from Rizzo coming into play, and still G2 not able to find a shot on target.
The demo, such a big part of Rizzo's game. Such a nuisance to play against, similar to Scrub Killa. Just a player that goes upfield and wreaks havoc. We'll see if this ends up helping G2 out, if they can get one in thanks to his demos.
Flakes around 1. Short detour to pick up the boost, but it cost them the ball. Magnus, again, trying to stick it as close as he can on the corner. Ball to Greasy, long clear over to the G2 side, and a patiently waiting G2 defense is there for it. Magnus again trying to keep that ball tight and gets the ball out to Flakes, who will drop it around the defense. So CompLexity on the board first.
Magnus taking his time, gets a wave dash pass up to Flakes, and Flakes with the finish. Slim margin of error there, no mistakes made. Perfect pass, and that little drop shot from Flakes, that'll seal it.
Some redemption for CompLexity for mis-executing a pass earlier. And they will start off game 3 with a bang. Flakes gives way to Magnus. JNaps to buy time. Rizzo takes out an attacker of CompLexity. He's respawned though, and Flakes will just push it right back into the G2 corner. Stealing away that corner boost as well. G2 could find themselves a little strapped for resources here. Might be a little sluggish to pick things up. However, the physical game coming through again. Chicago wreaking havoc in the net that time. Thankfully, CompLexity seemed to have everything under control. A risky challenge, and JNaps thought about it as he was going up, and he backed right out, saw both of his teammates stuck on the goal line of CompLexity. Said, hang on a minute, let's not be too stupid about this.
And we even saw Flakes go all the way back to G2's corner to get boost, and now the quick turn. Greasy sniping the upper 90.
Beautiful shot from Greasy Meister. 2 players commit from G2. Rizzo doesn't go aggressive for the bounce, and Greasy called him on it, let it roll out to the midfield and said, now you're toast, and into the top right.
And I love that play from Greasy. That little turn, throwing Rizzo off his trail, generating some space. And then he just puts a banger in the top corner.
JNaps leaves it for Rizzo off the kickoff. Chicago towards the net. Easy stop for Flakes. CompLexity, a solid lead considering the fairly low-scoring games that we've had. And now it's G2 who are going to have to get real creative if they want to break down this stingy CompLexity defense that has just been really unforgiving for G2. That it's taken mistakes mostly. G2 have not looked like the team that can just make anything happen like the G2 that we saw at the World Championship.
I mean, we're just waiting for JNaps in Chicago to start, connecting on these plays. Where's the passes from the wall down to the player in the middle who can just put a solid shot on net? It's just not happening for G2.
That's what they were talking about on the desk. It's really a play style that demands that you practice it. And they've taken a bit of time off, and you can see the effectiveness has definitely gone down to a degree. Ball out to the middle. Magnus, a gentle tap under one. Chicago off the ceiling. Rizzo in a race comes up empty, which means 3 ball for CompLexity. Greasy will launch it up the pitch and off the wall and into the net. 3-0, and CompLexity cruising.
Chicago, absolutely nothing in the tank. He picks up 2 small pads, uses them instantly. Doesn't have boost. He was trying to get up to make the save off the ceiling of the goal, but just too slow. CompLexity extending their lead, burying G2.
A big game as well. And this is really a series that probably means far more to CompLexity than it does to G2. Again, CompLexity didn't get a chance to play in New Jersey. Dallas, and right here, really the 2 pinnacles of that Season 7 season.
Trying to close it out strong, CompLexity. They got back to the RLCS, and now another open net, trying to finish their season strong. CompLexity 4-0, a minute left. They are just ending G2.
Definitely going to walk away with a Game 3 win here, and all the pressure in the world going to be on G2 to find 2 games in a row, only finding the back of the net 3 times so far in the series. CompLexity have just turtled up.
Yeah, and G2 just needs to find a way to kickstart this offense. Even in games 1 and 2, they managed to find a win, but G2, their offense has just been MIA. Where is it? Where's Chicago? Where is JNAPS? They need that heroic play from them. JNAPS, the knapsack. They got to have it.
Well, time will tick down here as we wind down. More of a formality than anything. It's CompLexity just waiting to move on to Game 4, and oh, so close for Chicago. They go aggressive. Rizzo can't find the touch, and Magnus maybe going to reach this. Not quite. It'll be Flakes to come in. 5-0, and yeah, what do you expect? They had to go.
Hey, Magnus again on the wall. He has been dishing these passes out for his teammates multiple times. The only 2 assists in this game for CompLexity at the hands of Magnus.
There's actually been more unassisted goals in this series than there have been assisted ones. There's been 3 total assists and 6 unassisted goals from both teams.
And it just goes to show you, it's those opportunities where you catch a team out or a player out and overcommit and allow a player to just go and attack your net. It's how you get those unassisted goals. We saw it from the flick miss from Flakes.
Yeah.
That was a perfect example of an unassisted
Free
goal.
counterattack for Chicago.
But CompLexity destroyed G2
Absolutely.
in Game 3.
Destroy is the right word. Despite 7 shots, 5 saves for CompLexity, which means 2 MIA for G2 off the mark. And CompLexity, I mean, they really didn't try too hard. It was kind of just wash, rinse, repeat. They sat on defense, and then they broke out, and voila. G2 left the net open a couple of times, which is the same thing that happened in Dallas a little bit. But back in Dallas, G2 were able to battle back, come up with a series win. So can they do the same thing here in games 4 and 5?
Yeah, G2 just looking flat. And then I love this play from Magnus. That wave dash pass, a thing of beauty, getting so much height on it, allowing Flakes to go for it. And then Chicago racing back, couldn't get to it in time, no boost. Greasy just putting that relatively low to make sure that Chicago can't jump off the ceiling and get the save. CompLexity 5-0 over G2. G2, their offense has just evaporated.
It is the same scenario that G2 found themselves against CompLexity and DreamHack Dallas. CompLexity was up 2-1 in that series as well, and G2 did come back to win games 4 and 5. And so we'll see if they can repeat that here as Game 4 about to get underway. And do they have it in them? It's that New Jersey magic still with G2. Can they get things underway? Start it off with a bang and keep the pressure up and force Game 5.
They're going to need something from Chicago or JNAPS. And we see a car change from Chicago, switching from Dominus to Octane, trying to get something going. It has been dead silent from him.
And I tend to find the Octane, there's a great challenge potential, but a big miss over the head of G2, and Magnus gets a gimme.
And Chicago just picked up the corner boost, had to get up very quickly, just can't get up in time, can't get the height. You expect Chicago to be able to get up and make those saves, but he didn't. Sails over him, and Magnus very quickly getting CompLexity the lead.
Well, Rizzo just slaps one off the back wall, and over the head, there's JNAP's back corner, and that will be the almost instant equalizer. They get it right back.
And G2 absolutely needed that. The shot was high. Flakes had the angle covered, so it is actually better that it bounced off the backboard, going out to JNAPs, who cleans it up.
And that was just a great follow-up from Rizzo as well, winning that follow-up challenge after the kickoff. And so CompLexity, elation short-lived, right back to where we started, down into the middle, and Greasy cutting that one out. Pass into the middle, JNAPs rolls one, and actually almost redirected from Rizzo, but not able to get it in between the goalposts.
Those are the passing plays that G2's looking for. Getting creative to beat the defense. Getting those bounce passes so you can get the ultimate power on those shots.
When they push Magnus off the wall, and Chicago sets one up, but JNAP's not in position for it. Not the greatest hit from Chicago to get it out into a scoreable spot. JNAP's down in the middle for Chicago, long clear from G2, and CompLexity, again, Magnus. He's done such a great job. Every time it feels like he tries to keep the ball as close as possible to him. And he's done such a beautiful job, at least buying time for CompLexity, if not winning possession.
Yeah, an incredibly smart player. We've seen him get to the finals, not only in 3v3s, but in 2v2s with the Universal Open. Magnus, a very seasoned player.
Nice save from JNAPs. A low shot from CompLexity is now found its way ping-ponging between the G2 half and midfield. Pass across. Finally, G2 are able to break out. JNAPs with a chance, has help, and actually Greasy will take that away. Won't even let that play decide its own fate. It's tipped up high from Magnus. Flakes not going to be uncontested. Greasy out of the corner, tips it away. Magnus down to the G2 half. Rizzo to himself, able to get over one, but unfortunate second tip there after the challenge, pokes it into the corner, and CompLexity are on transition now. Magnus goes straight through JNAPs out into the middle, and that will be deflected out towards Chicago. Pass to Rizzo. And towards the net, off the bar, and tipped aside. Again, it feels like every time G2's got a quick transition, CompLexity never caught off guard.
Just staunch defense from CompLexity. Great spacing. Their defensive reads off the backboard, precise. They're just playing solid Rocket League right now. G2 can't find a crack in their defense.
Oh, missed touch, and great recovery from JNAPs coming from the middle of the field. Nice job to react and get that out. Pass to Flakes off the ceiling. Can he get there as Magnus? And he'll actually miss the ball. He had no boost. Needs a double tap from Greasy. Can't find it. And that could have been huge for CompLexity.
That was just a few boosts away from getting the go-ahead goal. Magnus on empty. He just needed maybe even 5 boosts would have been enough to get there in time. And G2, they were sweating, but they escaped with their lives. They're back to the wall. They have to win this game, or otherwise they are done.
A nice job from Rizzo winning the ball away, but here it comes again. Chicago, tough save, beautiful pinch. Out to the midfield, and here comes a blasting clear. Just all the way down to the CompLexity corner. They need that space. CompLexity, every time they've got those long clears upfield, G2 has had to make fairly tough clear. And they've always come up with a solid touch. Not the greatest pinch from Chicago this time, but totally uncontested as Rizzo. JNAPs takes it away off Greasy Meister. And Rizzo applying that pressure again, going headhunting like you were talking about. Great save from Magnus, though. Understanding where that pass is headed. Can he stop this one, though? No, double tap, second effort,
Magnus.
And what a reaction from Magnus.
And G2's hit the crossbar so many times. And after bouncing out, Magnus able to get back to get this save. Close calls for G2. They just can't find the finish.
Great defensive effort all around from Magnus here. Can he find something for his team? Not the greatest hit from Greasy. Got a little bit too far under that ball, which will mean G2's going to press hard here, see if they can force something and avoid overtime. Out to the middle. Magnus takes that one away. Great second effort. Chicago will make sure to deny that corner boost, has to wait and dodge the physical bump play. Over one. Flakes gives space, but Chicago can't really regain control, so overtime it will be, and G2 needs something.
We could find our final team for day 3 right here in game 4.
Just missing that. CompLexity pressing hard off the kickoff, but G2 just trying to rotate around, find some boost, and make sure that they don't give anything away. JNAPS takes all the time in the world, as you should when you know you have it in that scenario, but that one slips by, Flakes off the wall, and Rizzo popped out to the middle for Chicago, and a welcome clear up to JNAPS, and he can't reach it, just off the nose. Flakes through one, as Magnus in the middle, actually going to take it himself, and there's the flick. JNAPS, great recovery, way to stick with it. It's a tough one to read when he's got multiple options, and a huge stop from JNAPS.
We've seen Flakes do it over and over. Going to miss from Chicago. That's going to seal it. Magnus sends CompLexity to day 3.
Vindication for DreamHack Dallas. They get revenge on G2, and a brilliant win for CompLexity. They had to play defense forever. They held out, got a few counterattacks, and they send G2 back home.
And the defense, that was what separated them. Shutting down G2, fending off shot after shot. G2 hitting crossbar multiple times, and then when they would put the shots on target, Magnus was there. They just couldn't get it by him. 3 saves from Magnus, 2 goals. What a game from Magnus, a huge one.
Definitely a worthy victory, especially for Magnus, who is just an all-around monster. Greasy as well, making a bunch of tough saves on the line, and Flakes as well. Of course, the man with the plan whenever they need the ball in the back of the net, and he delivered in that department. But James, we've said our piece. What do you guys at the analyst desk think of G2 going home early?
I don't know if it's G2 going home early or the fact that CompLexity qualifying for the RLCS, making top 8 at Dallas, now making top 8 here. And their second DreamHack is starting to go, when does CompLexity stop here? Especially taking out Titans like G2.
Looking good. We saw them earlier when they played t.trouble. It seemed like the Flake show, but here we heard it from the casters, right? All 3 players playing well, and that's Rocket League in a nutshell. You need all 3 stepping up. On the side of G2, I felt like the defensive mishaps maybe by Chicago were maybe what cost them this series.
Yeah, CompLexity are making waves. I loved what I saw. Like they said, Magnus, especially with that wave dash pass, I think that is exactly what started the hype for them. That pass from Magnus was insane. Utilizing a lot of the space that G2 was giving them, I felt like they were either too aggressive or too passive. We had 2 people in the backfield going for the same boost all the time. G2 just wasn't there on the field, but CompLexity was, and they were everywhere.
Yeah, and with that win there for CompLexity, also weighting our day number 3 bracket in favor of now the European region, though, again, as we already talked about, Worlds North America dominating in the early days with Vitality getting that last laugh.
Yeah, it seemed like maybe that vacation caught up to G2 a little bit there, and like it makes sense, right? It's that post-Worlds hangover, but for a lot of these World Championship teams, they are back in it, but G2 we'll have to regroup over this summer break. I don't think they're too concerned about it, that they came into this thinking it might not be their tournament. So we'll see. But for a team like CompLexity, who is trying to grow and get all that experience, it worked out great for them.
It's huge for CompLexity. Everything right now, this whole DreamHack, all this experience, especially going to league play, is everything for them. Learning what their mistakes are flat out and just showing up. And look at that pass from Magnus. That was so amazing.
So we saw some smart plays by Greasy as well, where like we saw Rizzo turn away from a ball and Greasy knew it, so he waited for a better shot location. Here's the final goal of the series, just another mistake by Chicago. There's 2 or 3 on the defensive half, but it's all about CompLexity finishing those chances.
And we said it before, it was the Flake show early on, but now it is a well-rounded team, and the man who really stepped up in that last series joining us now is going to be none other than Magnus. Congratulations there, Magnus.
Thank you.
I mean, you just took out G2, man. How do you feel?
I mean, we were really confident going in that series. We knew what mistakes we were doing against t.trouble, so we just, in that series against Mountcam, we were trying to focus on those mistakes and improve, and that gave us a huge boost for us as well, going into this series, because they came from a loss. I'm not sure, am I right?
Yeah, they came from a loss. But, so now you're going into day 3 once again, so now it's like 2 day 3s back-to-back. Are you guys getting warmed up for RLCS and feel extremely confident going into Season 8?
Yeah, we're really confident. It's like we have won every single off-stage match, but we're always struggling on stage, so we need the LAN experience as well. But we like online, when everyone's feeling comfortable, we're really good together. So we just gotta get the LAN stage practice on.
And out of all the teams here, especially going to day 3, who are you fearing the most?
Fearing the most, I would say NRG, since it's Firebird's last tournament. They're not like taking it fully seriously.
Yeah. And you think that's helping them?
Yeah, I think it's helping them, like playing for the fun of it.
And is there anything you guys are going to do tonight before going into day number 3 to make sure that you have the right mindset going into it? Is it VOD review? Is it just making sure that you get that relaxation?
Get a good sleep, something to eat, nothing else.
Maybe the pool?
Yeah, maybe the pool?
Yeah, maybe.
All right, well, thank you here, Magnus, for joining us. In a couple of moments here, we will have our bracket for day number 3, so you guys can see who are those 8 teams. Here it is, the day number 3 final bracket for DreamHack Valencia.
And here we go. Europe is coming back up top, but look at this for the 3rd straight tournament in a row. Vitality versus NRG. That one's going to be great. Then we get the River Rats versus CompLexity. Maybe a match that a lot of people didn't expect. And one of the ones I love is actually Cloud9 PSG, because it's the team that's always top 4 in Cloud9 versus the team that never finishes top 4.
And my eyes are set on Barcelona. It feels like they've been completely re-energized this tournament. They've had a little bit of a flat start every tournament so far, especially at Worlds. Nothing going for them, but then all of a sudden coming out of the woodworks here, Barcelona picking up some energy, and I'm wondering if they can carry that all the way to the finals tomorrow.
That hometown crowd, and imagine if it's Barcelona versus PSG in that semifinal, this crowd's going to be going nuts.
Yeah, but inversely, though, still looking at that exact same series, I also want to ask, is there a world where maybe we see the exact same day number 1 version of Barcelona showing up and suddenly the Bricks, have what it takes to move on?
Very possible. Like the Bricks, again, another carefree attitude. Like, this is a tryout for this roster, but that's just how a lot in speed play, right? So nothing phases them. They could easily take that series.
Yeah, it just feels like every team so far is so one-sided. The only real dominant one we've seen is Vitality. I keep saying it over and over again. But everybody else, it's a coin flip. Who do you expect to come through? Honestly, I'm curious. Who do you even pick at this point?
Oh, you're picking NRG, right?
Yeah, that's true.
They're playing Vitality, but it doesn't matter, right? So you're still going to pick NRG. I think that's what everyone's going to be picking, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see if that magic does happen.
A lot of cool stories, a lot of crazy action here at DreamHack Valencia. But as we said, that series is going to be the conclusion here of day number 2. We do have more action coming in tomorrow for Championship Sunday here at DreamHack Valencia. And also, before we go, have to give a huge shout out to all those who do, in fact, make DreamHack possible. None other than DreamHack, Psyonix, Monster, and of course, esportmanagement.com. Thank you very much. Again, we'll be back here tomorrow, and we'll find out who becomes a DreamHack champion.